Let's talk about a concept called right angle selling. I heard this name somewhere around 2004 when I joined a startup out of Austin, Texas. My manager was using that. And as I learned it, uh, the lessons underneath it, the application of it, I realized I'd been doing it naturally my whole life. I had used it, I'd learned it in the military, which is basically a flanking maneuver. If you listen to the Jocko podcast, he talks about cover and move. The Art of War, Sun Tzu has talked about it for millennia. Don't just run right into the teeth of your opponent. You'll hear me use analogies all the time around sports, around dating. Right angle selling is, I'm I'm rewatching Hitch from 2005 with Will Smith and Kevin James, and a friend of mine is asking me to do some sales training for her son who joined her business. And he's been doing account management for her, but she wants him to get on the phone, to get out and network and go land net new business. And so I talked to him just yesterday, and I said, "Hey, have you ever seen the movie Hitch?" Now this guy is, early 20s, maybe 25, I don't know, but early 20s. And he says, "No, I haven't seen it." So I spoke to him yesterday. It was a Wednesday. I said, "You have until Friday to watch that movie." So I'm rewatching it, and it's hilarious. And I need to get the transcript, certainly of the first half of the movie, because the lessons learned are epic. Because everything we do is a sale. Courtship is a sale. But the strategies, how to approach someone, and I'll use the dating analogy. Hitch shows these guys taking their shot and just coming straight in, cheesy grin, got a drink in their hand. They're making a wrong assumption about the main love interest in the movie, and then Will Smith saves the woman, but you can see, you just cringe watching these guys go into the teeth of their intended love interest. Right angle selling. If an example Will Smith does, there's a woman he wants to talk to. She's surrounded by men, and he walks in, sneaks into the crowd, puts a 20 in her hand, says, "Yeah, I got to get a couple of Coronas," and he walks away. So then she chases him, and she's irritated. She's like, "I don't work here." He's like, "I know you don't. I had to do something different to get your interest, to get you alone so I can try to connect." All right. And so business is the same way. Look at a car dealership. We've all been there. You pull up, you're walking in, you're walking up to the front door, and there's a couple of salesmen hanging out on their phones, smoking. And as soon as they see you, man, their eyes light up, one big last drag, grind the cigarette out, and they beeline it straight for you. "Hey, how are you? Welcome to ABC dealership. What are you looking for today?" And then it's on. And you immediately tense up. You're like, "Oh my gosh, here we go again. I said I wouldn't do this." But yet there you are. Now, you are creating the same feeling in your prospects when you walk right into their teeth. When you just come straight at them. "Hi, how are you?" Anything that you don't like, they probably don't like. Any typical approach is going to immediately set you back. Listen to the sales calls that you take. Listen to the way people open meetings. And if you don't like it, don't do it. "Oh, but Wes, I'm good. I'm nice. I mean well. I have their best interest at heart. We're family owned and operated. We have great patents. Our founder started in a garage." And save it. If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Okay. And if you conduct yourself in exactly the same way as all of your competitors, and the only way your customers, your prospects, can differentiate you from your prospects is on price. You can't do that if you just walk straight in, get punched in the face. Now you're on your heels. Now they're asking questions. Now they're in control of the conversation. You're reacting, trying to recover. You can never catch your breath. All right. So, in this right angle selling, it's a flanking maneuver. All right. I mean, it just is what it is. Are you saying this is war? Are we at war with our prospects? Yes and no. Our prospects are at war with us because they've been mistreated and abused and lied to by amateur salespeople their whole lives. We all have. So we do not give a salesperson the benefit of the doubt. We're immediately tense, anxious, worried, concerned, doubtful. So it is what it is. When you open, just like everybody else, when you hem and haw, when you answer a question with a question, you're like, okay, saying, look, you know what, this, I'm not feeling it. Just send us some information. We'll get back to you. So you've got to figure out how to come at them in a way that they're not expecting. And it's our job as salespeople to adjust how we sell to match how the prospect buys. Well, Wes, how the hell am I supposed to know how the prospect buys? I mean, that's our first meeting. Well, do some research. You can find some things out about almost everybody online. If you cannot, that in and of itself tells you something. Okay. Do some research. If you're calling very high into a company, that top executive doesn't have much of an online profile, do some investigation. I have called, press 1 for sales. I've pressed 1 for sales, gotten a salesperson on the phone and said, hey, look, dude, I'm not a prospect. I'm trying to sell, to your IT director, to your CEO. Can you give me some scoop, some intel? I've gotten cell phone numbers of CEOs of major corporations from salespeople. You didn't get it from me. Like, no sweat, dude. Kind of like this kind of the bond, right? Band of brothers, band of sisters. We're in the trenches together. So do some research. Call vendors that are in a non-competitive industry. Find something out. Okay, if you can't, if you truly are walking in blind, maybe you admit that and tell them, hey, I don't know much about you, your style, or you got to listen. How they show up, how they communicate, email, text. Are they forthcoming up front before the presentation or not? You have to figure out how to break the ice. You have to figure out how to read the room. You have to figure out how to get their guard to come down. And because people leave clues, but we usually don't. We're not listening. People say, oh, I'm terrible with names. You're not terrible with names. You're terrible about beating yourself up, or you're excellent at beating yourself up. So as you're meeting somebody, instead of listening to their name, oh, Wes Schaefer, you're thinking, I'm terrible with names, I'm terrible with names. So you don't listen. In that movie Hitch, one of the early scenes, this guy, he helps this guy meet this woman. She's got a little dachshund. And the whole setup there was interesting. But now they're going on a date. They're going to an art show. And he tells the guy, don't look at her lips. Look at her eyes and listen. Listen so you can respond appropriately. People need to be told this. People need to pay money to learn this. Yes, they do. So listen to understand. Don't listen to just reply. I tell people all the time, there's a 4-part, mantra of selling that I was taught by my coach, Steve Clark, all the way back in 2006. Selling is a calling, serving is its purpose, questioning is the process, and a sale may be the solution. I am not desperate for the sale, so I can listen. I've sold software for many, many years, and it was pretty powerful what it could do back in the day. And people would want it because they'd see others using it. And I told more people no to signing up for that software than yes. And I was still one of the top resellers in the world for this company for years. And I told most people no. I became affiliates of other platforms because I was telling so many people no. I'm like, well, I should at least get paid for referring them out to something else. And so instead of a $300 sale, $2,000 up front, $300 a month, I'd steer them to Constant Contact. I mean, back then it was like $19 a month, no contract, right? To at least get them accustomed to writing emails, newsletters, creating opt-in forms, thinking in a series of follow-ups. So, but again, this right angle selling, you've got to understand the fear that's going on in the mind of the prospect. We must enter the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect. There's fear, there's uncertainty, there's doubt, there's boredom. Okay, are you saying this big, powerful CEO is afraid? Yeah, I mean, they're not afraid of spiders, but they're afraid of wasting time. They're afraid of making a wrong step. They're afraid of getting mud on their face. I guarantee you, these upper echelons, Musk, Mark Cuban, Bezos, these guys, they probably have each other's cell phone numbers, and they're tweaking one another, probably talking smack like I do with my Air Force buddies, sending memes like, hey, nice launch there, bud. When it blows up. I guarantee you these guys, there's egos there. So when you're dealing with some kind of executive, some kind of business owner, there's some type of ego there. So do you understand that? Sometimes on this right angle selling, sometimes when the person has that big ego, maybe your humble approach is taken the wrong way and they think they can walk all over you. That's when you got to flip the script. Sometimes you have to punch back. Sometimes the prospect only respects another fighter. So you got to figure that out though, right? But again, you got to get into the ring. You've got to be invited. And how you do that is by not being obvious, not being the same. So you prove you're different by being different. Folks in my training all the time will say, but Wes, I'm so different. I'm great when I get in front of the prospect. I'm not getting enough in front of enough qualified prospects. Well, that's your job. The number one job of a salesperson is to prospect. But when you sound the same, when you hit them straight on, you're just walking right into a wood chipper. Have fun with this. Come up with some creative ways. Go watch the movie Hitch. He totally was creative in how he approached the one woman that he wanted. He sent a courier with a walkie-talkie, right? So I mean, it's like she was cold, she was hard. She had been let down, so her guard was tough. She was tough to connect with. So he played it slow. Didn't ask for her info, walked away, bought her a drink, walked away. Now that right angle selling, sends a courier with a walkie-talkie, gets her on a date. Okay, so go watch Hitch, see some of the lessons learned, see how they get a date with the dachshund, see how he does the walkie-talkie bit. But pay attention to literally I've got kids, still got my youngest is 10, but for years, and it's still to this day, watch movies with captions on, and 99 times out of 100, I'm watching on my iPad. Because even something you think is nice, there's language, there's things. So, when you got little ones running around, but anyway, turn captions on and let the words sink in, rewind it. And think to yourself, is that right angle selling? How can I leverage that to get an appointment? How can I leverage that to get closer to a prospect? People say, well, that's manipulation. That dachshund scene, he manipulated her. Well, I ask this question all the time on the sales podcast. What is manipulation? What is persuasion? And the difference is, what is the purpose? If I'm conducting myself in such a way to get a benefit that only benefits me, that's manipulation. If we both get something out of the deal, if the prospect gets more out of the deal than I do, that's persuasion. Okay. But again, don't get too literal. Don't start freaking out on me. The movie's 19 years old. Just get the lessons learned from it and then apply it. If you get stuck, let me know. Put it in the comments below. Email me, hit me up on social media, whatever. I will engage. If you think I'm wrong, full of crap, I got thick skin. But you better have thick skin too. I'm just saying. Thanks for watching. Go sell something.